So with the SAFE class that I've been facilitating, the first 4 weeks, I think, are all about the far-reaching practice of joyous effort. Geshe Sopa calls it diligence. Let's call it joyous diligence, because we don't want to lose the joy part. That's very important. And I think week 3 went in, or week 2, I think we went into laziness, and then the whole next week was about one type of laziness, of despondency. So the 3 types of laziness are, these are the hindrances to joyous effort. There's procrastination, the laziness of being too busy with worldly things, and the laziness of what's called despondency. And I can see these are very connected to each other. Somebody could be very busy because that kind of helps facilitate procrastinating what they don't want to do. So we get busy doing things, worldly things. And sometimes we might procrastinate something because it seems too hard. And we have some despondency around the issue or around the practice. Sometimes it's also called discouragement or self-contempt. I think I like discouragement. It seems like there's more to it than just self-contempt, because there can be discouragement about the goal, whether the goal is really attainable, and then whether we are of the substance that can become a Buddha. And we've been learning a lot about Buddha nature, and it came up a lot with this issue here, with this topic in our class, that we are of the substance of the being that can become a Buddha. We can become a Buddha because we have a mind that is empty of inherent existence. The gong is empty of inherent existence too, but it's not going to become a Buddha because it's not a mind stream. We are a being like the Buddhas were. All the Buddhas were sentient beings and became Buddhas. So we're encouraged to realize that we have the same exact potential. The Buddhas had uncountable lives like we have had. They've been in many, many miserable situations and all the different realms of samsara. And they were able to purify their minds. If you look at the mind stream and see that we can learn that the nature of the mind is more closely aligned with virtue, and that the hindrances such as the afflictions and cognitive obscurations can be removed. There's also can be despondency about the means to attain the goal. The path. Is there a path to become a Buddha? Do we trust the path the Buddha laid out? And are we able to do this? These two I see very closely because it comes back also to an aspect of, do we have this ability? And I think this is a lot of where people have a lot of despondency. Oh, it's too hard. I could never do that. It's easy to think that Siddhartha became Shakyamuni Buddha, but it's hard for me to think that I can become a Buddha. And that's really a big obstacle for a lot of people. We see the path as very long, 3 countless great eons, and then it's easy to think that's too long. But we work with the part of the path we're on now. I had a little example. You look at an infant, and somebody could say, could this infant become a doctor? No, this infant cannot become a doctor. This infant could become a toddler, and on up to becoming a high school student and a med school student, and then that med school student becomes a doctor. The only one that can become a Buddha is a 10th ground bodhisattva. And the only one who can become a 10th ground bodhisattva would be a 9th ground bodhisattva, which is a little closer, you know. And so what I can do is practice the things that are coming up for me now, and I can progress in that direction. And when it comes time to do the practices a 10th ground bodhisattva is doing, then I will be ready for them. But right now, I don't have to worry about those. I just have to worry about the gross afflictions and stuff that come up now. And that's plenty to keep me busy. Yeah. The other form of despondency is thinking that we don't have conducive conditions. Or when we're looking at countering it, it's titled what? Stopping despondency, because wherever you are is the place to practice. And I kind of think of that in several ways. It's mostly explained in people thinking that, oh, I don't have the right place, or I don't have the right, outer conditions. We have really good conditions here, but really obstacles and obstacles and adversity are they're fuel for the path, and we know this because we hear turning adversity into joy and courage. These are the things that make us have to develop. These are the conditions that we need, really. But any conditions that we have could potentially be the conditions we need to practice. I also think of this on the level we're at, which is kind of what I just described as we practice what's in front of us. And also think about it in moment to moment. Wherever I am in my day, there's the possibility of practice. I don't have to be studying or on a cushion, although of course we can't succeed without meditation, reflection, and study. But everything that comes up for me through my day could be practice. And if we hold our practice close to us like this, moment to moment, this is incredibly important. I know His Holiness says, be kind whenever possible, and it is always possible. That sounds like a directive to practice kindness in every moment. And so that's about holding that part of the practice with you every moment. But our practice of dealing with our minds has to be there every moment. We have to have that introspective awareness like a bouncer at a club, It is. It's like, no, you were here last week and we know what you did. You're not coming back in. And so it's like anger. No, you're not allowed in here. Despondency, no, you just ruin our party. And so we have to be aware of what we let come into our mind and what we let come up. Truthfully, we were looking today. Venerable Thubten was teaching on the refuge, Nundro, and the visualization for me is just like overwhelming. And our discussion group, we had broke out into discussion groups, and I said this brings up despondency, And for me, that was recognizing and saying it, stating it, seeing it. And because I had been feeling despondent about it. I'm like, I can't do this huge thing, And then luckily I was in a breakout group with 2 elders. Fortunately, they gave me some advice on that. That's good. And now I can think of, maybe I'll just set up the first 5 thrones and work from there and not think I gotta have it all at once. So So I had that come up for me as a good example in my own life today. With thinking that the path is too hard, I also think about this for yourselves. What's difficult about the path that in itself is not samsara? Everything that's difficult that we say is difficulty on the path, it's samsara. Whether it's my mind wandering off during teachings or meditation, that's samsara. Or if my body hurts while I'm sitting, or I get overwhelmed by the afflictions even though I'm trying to bring up the antidote. This is samsara. It's not the path. It's what we're trying to get rid of that's hard. And it's like falling into a raging river of thick sewage. And it's hard to move, and there's a current. And if you want to get to the shore, it's hard. But it's not the shore's fault that it's hard. It's the sewage. And if you don't make an effort to get there, you're not going to get there. You know, you're just going to be swept on indefinitely. And so, Shantideva says this in several different verses. And he mentions that, the difficulties of practicing the path are a millionth of the sufferings of samsara. And there's no end to it. At least with practicing the path, there will be an end. There'll be an end to all this suffering. And I think about the path as a gradual thing. Like the Buddha gave the analogy of just as a large pot is filled with water, drop by drop by drop, so a wise person is filled with virtue through continuous effort over a long period of time. And so we can see the path as a long, gradual thing, but we have limited time in this life, so we have a balance between being patient with the results that are coming and having a sense of urgency with the effort we put into it. So a balance too with the urgency, not hectic and what do they call it, overachieving, but just doing what we can and every day. I think with also something that was on my mind is with laziness. It's not just about the laziness of putting off our practice or not studying, not finding time to study, but it's also the laziness of not bringing that practice into every moment, of not holding it dear and near all the time. For me, my mind wanders off on things, and it's a big part of the practice to just continue to try and recognize what is not serving me well coming into my mind and what is. And so basically I was thinking of the path of the our practice too, when we hear about 3 countless great eons and it's so far away. But if I wanted to walk into Newport, I couldn't stand up and put one foot right into Newport. I would have to put one foot in front of me on the section that's right there. And it's good that I know all the details of how to get to Newport, but I will worry about the hills and stuff as we get there. And Newport's not the greatest example. It's kind of a bland example because there's not a lot of hills, and I've been there. But, if I was walking through some long forest trail up to some nice, beautiful mountain lake and somebody had told me about it and watch out for this and that along the trail and this is a great spot, it'd be good to know those things. But I have to focus on the part I'm on. And so that's a big part, I think, for me of getting over despondency and just recognizing and sometimes looking back and seeing where I was 10 years ago. The results are not always just off in the future either. When I first came here and started practicing Buddhism, I was not only impressed by the teachings, but by people practicing and seeing that they were happier than a lot of the people I knew who were out practicing what they thought would bring them happiness. And even if I didn't think that I could become a Buddha, I think trying to be kind to people in the moment is still worthwhile. I do believe we can become Buddhas, and we will become Buddhas. But even just practicing brings a better thing, more joy in our minds at the moment, if we let it.